Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. I'd like to talk a bit about a ranger feature that bugs me somewhat, and it's something that I've seen in multiple classes and in multiple games, and this is a specialization component. So, a bit of background. I play a lot of Warhammer 40,000. I played a lot of Warhammer 40,000 when I'm younger. I haven't played in a while. I still have a sizable collection of Eldari. I used to work for Games Workshop for 7 years. Games Workshop and Warhammer has been as big a part of my life as Dungeons and Dragons has. There are a number of factions in Warhammer 40,000 that have a degree of specialization against other factions. So, for example, if you are playing a demon army and your opponent happens to be a Grey Knights player, Grey Knights are a very specialist chapter of Space Marines who are primarily demon hunters. If you bring a demon army and your opponent has a Grey Knight army, you're going to be in for a tough time. Similarly, there are certain armies that are especially good at dealing with psychers, with magic users. And if you have an army that has a lot of psychers, like mine, and you randomly play against a player that has a lot of anti-psyker stuff, it's going to make the game very hard for you. There are certainly plenty of situations in Warhammer 40,000 where one faction is a lot better against another specific faction than it is against general factions or other factions in general. This can be a problem. If you are playing a friendly game and you know your opponent is bringing a particular faction, you can somewhat tailor your list to mitigate some of their strengths. If you have a demon army and you know your opponent is playing demon hunters, then you can take certain factions that are going to be less vulnerable to their special abilities. But in a tournament setting where you don't know what you're going up against and it comes in the luck of the draw, if you are playing your standard tournament demon army and you get drawn up against Grey Knights, you're going to have a bad time. And it's not ideal. Now, in randomized games, over a long period of time, averages being averages, everything comes out in the wash. But if you've got a critical game and you are drawn against a faction that has a lot of special rules for fighting against your army, that's a tough break. It's a tough one to deal with. And this happens in Dungeons and Dragons as well. If you play a cleric, you have a lot of abilities that make you better at fighting undead. And a good dungeon master will throw in lots of undead for you to play against. If you are playing a cleric in Curse of Strahd, for example, good for you. You have plenty of opportunities against undead minions and spooky things, and your cleric is going to feel great. But if you're playing in a different setting, and there doesn't happen to be any undead in it, there's a lot of your class features that just aren't going to come up. And comparatively, that will make your class feel weaker. So you can be in situations where your class will feel stronger or weaker. Now, if you're playing in a very balanced campaign where there's a bit of everything thrown at you, it doesn't matter. It all comes out in the wash. Everyone will be happy. But if you are playing in one particular setting and undead just don't feature, that might make you feel a bit rough. Like, why have I got all these abilities that I never get to use? The Ranger is particularly bad at this. With favoured terrain and favoured enemies, two very flavourful and fun abilities, if you don't get to use them, your Ranger will feel underpowered when compared to the rest of the party. Now, of course, the correct thing to do is to sit down with your dungeon master before the campaign and say, hey, I want to play a Ranger. I get these abilities. Can you tell me what I should take so that they're not wasted? And a good dungeon master should be able to guide you in the right right direction to give you some options that will still be useful. If your dungeon master says, you know what, we're going to be fighting primarily in mountains, forest and Arctic conditions, and the main types of enemy you're going to be coming up against are going to be goblinoids, dragons and monstrosities, then you can make an informed choice. On the other hand, if it's a real sandbox of a campaign and you're going all the way around the world fighting against everything, you have to roll the dice and see what's going to be useful and what's going to be useless. I don't think that feels right for me. That's a blind choice. I've talked a lot about good choices, and a choice is good when there isn't an obvious best answer, but you also have some contextual clues to go on about what good choices might be, and the ramifications of your choice have some significance on your gameplay. So with favoured terrain and favoured enemy definitely having useful implications on gameplay, having a blind choice on what to take feels a bit rough. Now, how would I deal with this? I so want to rewrite Ranger as a class from the ground up. Completely changing the way Hunter's Mark works so that it is now a team-based bonus. You pick a target and you go bring it down. That's now marked and everyone's going to get some bonus when they attack it. That's how I want Hunter's Mark to do. But what about favoured terrain and favoured enemy? This should be something that you get to choose at the beginning of each day, not necessarily when you make the character. So you can go, you know what, today we're in this kind of environment, these are the preparations we need to make, we're all going to get some bonuses. Or these are the kind of creatures I'm expecting us to fight today, you're going to get these bonuses fighting against them. And you know what, tomorrow it might be different, pick another target. Games masters have an obligation to make their players feel like the heroes in a story. So throwing too many curveballs at them again and again isn't the best plan. It's great to surprise them, but if every fight is against a different type of creature and it's impossible for them to make preparations about what they might be coming up against, it does take away a lot of the heroic fantasy element, which is what people are playing Dungeons and Dragons for. So by allowing Rangers to pick a different favoured terrain and favoured enemy type every day, you get to allow people to fulfill that class fantasy, to be useful, to feel like they're making a useful contribution to team, to give them that little boost that makes their character feel fun and flavourful. And if you do want to throw some curveballs in, absolutely. If they've been fighting goblins all day and you throw in a couple of monstrosities, that's going to be fun. And they might think tomorrow, do I want to take goblins or do I think we're going to run into monstrosities again? Get them thinking. And whatever choice they make, give them some benefits for it. But don't force them to make blind choices. Don't force players to make a blind choice at level 1 and then live with whatever choice they made, whether it's good or bad. Because if they got lucky and made the right choice, then fantastic. If they made a choice and you tailored the campaign to go around it, fine, that works. But if they made a blind choice and they happen to get the wrong one, and now they have a useless ability that makes their character suck, that's not fun. And this is a game, and we play games to have fun. So that's how I deal with favoured terrain and favoured enemy. Pick a new one every day. That's perfect timing. Say hi, Pip.
Hello.
That's my son, and enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.